Hi, everyone. It's me, Krillius, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is author Lucie Fielding. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be sharing space with you.
Awesome. It is totally a pleasure sharing space with you as well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy month. I'm glad that the sun is out and that it's starting to get a little warmer so I can have, hot girl summer. So,
Yes, 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 yes. We all would love a hot girl summer, honey. I love it. So, to start this off, I just love to have you introduce yourself to our guests and let
yeah,
them know a little bit about your background and experience.
sure. So, my name is Lucie Fielding. My pronouns are she, they. Please mix them with reckless abandon. I'm a white, queer, kinky, polyamorous, non-binary trans femme. I'm also a therapist practicing in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Seattle, Washington, on Monacan and Duwamish land. And I am also a sex educator and the author of the book Transsex: Clinical Approaches to Transsexualities and Erotic Embodiments.
Awesome, awesome. Tell me about sex education and how did you get into that?
So I started because I had some, I've seen some shit.
Mhm,
And so like um when it came time to be studying things, I was
mhm,
studying like erotic literature and history of sexuality. And um and at parties, like people would like approach me and would like start telling me, yeah, they would find out what I worked on, and they would start
mhm,
telling me the most intimate details of their sexual and relational life. And it just kept happening.
mhm.
And after a long time, and I would just keep turning to my partner afterwards. I was like, that's a little weird, but I feel honored, but I don't know really what to do with this. And, maybe I should be a sex therapist and, at least get paid for when that happens.
Mhm, mhm.
And so it started as a, I mean, I hesitate to call it a joke, but it's something that like I was just kind of amused by. And then, I was at a point in my life where I really needed a change, and I was tired of serving organizations and wanted to serve people. I wanted to
Yeah.
serve communities, and I wanted to see sexual shame discharged. I wanted to help folks find pleasure in their bodies, and so that's how I decided to go into that.
I love that. I love that. And you've now written a book called Trans Sex, which of course explores it's a clinical approaches to transsexualities and erotic embodiments. And of course, this is so fabulous and so good and so critical to have, right now, especially for our communities, because it's very rare. I don't know, very, 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 very rare, to find something, especially literature, especially book, that is fully dedicated to, exploring, the sexualities of trans people and everything that comes with that. You know what I mean? For many trans people, they don't have anything to teach them or
Yeah.
to let them be aware of that. So talk to me about how you got this book together and what it was like, writing this and preparing this.
Well, I mean, what it was like was, the first half was pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half, I was writing it, when the pandemic started and lockdown started. And I was really, and that's actually when I found the heart and soul of the book,
Mm-hmm.
because I think I'd been searching for that. And then in that moment in March 2020, and then, and then it kept happening, over and over as different waves and different happenings. And, that how the fuck do I hold this? Sorry, can I say?
You
Can I
swear? Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do I hold this? How is it that because like we're not trained to be in the trauma soup with our clients at the same time that we're both having it, that we're both experiencing it. And like what we're told, in our trainings is, well, you process trauma after a traumatic event has happened.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like, how do I hold this? And I started turning to community, in the sense of like turning to activists in the 80s and 90s wrestling with the HIV/AIDS epidemic, another period where touch and connection felt so precarious, and and where there were so many moral panics indeed around touch and connection. And I found so much wisdom there, and in kind of touching that lineage. In terms of where the book came from, I think with a lot of things, and maybe this is true for you and projects that you engage in, but like I think rage is a huge is very clarifying. It's having experiences where you're fetishized or othered, or where you are not listened to, not believed, or labeled too much, or not enough, or all of those things. And I think that this is an experience that a lot of folks in marginalized groups, and what I call in the book, erotically marginalized groups, that, sex education, sex therapy books, sex research is predominantly written for and by white, cis, straight, thin, able-bodied folks, and neurotypical, all the things. And something that I didn't want to have happen anymore is it obviously will always happen, much to my chagrin, but having to extrapolate from a dominant culture's experience, to constantly have to do that. And to crosswalk for whether it's for my clients or whether it's for my own self, as I'm trying to figure out where the erotic lives in my body, where it lives in my relationships. And so like it was the clarifying rage of this needs to be there. And therapists and medical providers, they're the ones who have been defining our experience from without, telling us like, this is who you are, this is your story, this is what it means to be trans, this is what it means. You can't have ambiguity, you can't enjoy any kind of form of ambivalence or ambiguity. And yeah, I wanted to challenge people, like, do better, and let's build something from the trans up.
Yes,
let's
I
build
love
something from the
that.
queer up.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. So what has the response been like? I'd love to know what the response has been like since the book has come out. And of course, we must share with everyone that you are a 2022 Lammy Awards finalist. So congratulations for that. How has that been for you?
Surreal. The response the book has gotten has been so heartening to me.
Mm-hmm.
People have resonated with it. Um, Providers have told me, like, I'm going to do things differently, which, is an incredible thing to hear.
Yes,
But
certainly.
the most special thing is when I hear from fellow queer and trans folks who say, this is the first time that I feel like I've been seen and held and
Mm-hmm.
spoken to and with instead of at.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means the world to me, because that is what our experience should be, is that
Mm-hmm.
we should feel held and seen in what we see out in the world. In terms of the Lemmys, I mean, God, it's amazing, and it just means so much just to be shortlisted. I mean, to be shortlisted, not just shortlisted, but shortlisted on a same shortlist that, like, Deshaun Harrison's Belly of the
Mm-hmm.
Beast, like, to be on a list with them. I mean, oh my God. I mean, that book is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm talking about it tomorrow with my sex therapy students. It's a great so it's just a great honor. And, would I love to get the award, to on behalf of transsex and on behalf of the contributors to transsex? Absolutely. But just being in the same company with Deshaun
Yeah.
Harrison is a huge thing.
That is huge. That is huge. And once again, congratulations on the Lammy Award finalists. Now, for any young trans person that, is, they're just coming to terms with themselves, they're just coming to terms with their bodies,
Mhm.
they might have a different feeling towards sex, sexuality, puberty, all of that, as
Ah,
opposed to maybe their cis friends and all of that. What would you say they can expect, from this book, and how that will help in their journeys in any way?
well, I think that there's already a lot of really good community resources, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to name those right off the bat. Like Mirabelle Weathers' Fucking Trans Women, which is a
Mm-hmm.
seminal zine. Um, um, then there's the Transsex zine, there's the Sexuality Articles and Trans Bodies, Trans Selves, and I recommend those. There's, books like, Deshaun Harrison's book again, like, where it's you can see, perhaps you can see you're experiencing, and you can see that the questions that you are asking,
Mm-hmm.
will will somebody love me? Will somebody want to have sex with me? What will sex be like? What are the possibilities out there? Beyond that which I might be getting if I'm lucky in sex ed classes. Um, then I think that can be really powerful. And I think I would also say, hang in there, and it's up to your um, educators, it's up to
Yeah.
your caretakers to do the work at this point, because, like, the kids, they're going to be just fine, like, as long as they feel supported and affirmed, and as long as they're um, that they're given space to imagine into the possibilities, and that their imaginations aren't limited by those of us who are, you know, I mean, I'm 44 years old. My imagination is certainly limited. I mean, and I have a pretty active imagination. But you know, they are going to be able to dream and to be um, things that I can't possibly imagine. Um, but also reach out to us, because there are elders who are part of the community, who are part of your trans fam, and who, many of us are living, many of us are no longer with us. There's so much in community that can, so much wisdom and so much wisdom in your body from the very beginning, and tap into that wisdom. That's my dream for them.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks so much for sharing. And speaking of reaching out, how can they reach out? How can people find out more about you, follow you, pick up the book, and keep up with any updates that you might have going on?
Well, in terms of where to buy the book, Routledge, my publisher, you can buy it directly from them. I always will recommend purchasing books from small bookstores, local bookstores, Kramer's, Poetry and Prose, Bus Boys and Poets, these kind of things. These are great DC bookstores, and there's so many more that I can't even don't even have time to name. You can find me on social media. I'm probably most active on Instagram. I'm at Sex Beyond Binaries, and I'm on Twitter at Lucie_Fielding, although I don't typically tweet a lot. My website, luciefielding.com. I hope to be doing much more community-facing workshops in the coming year, and I really hope folks will reach out. And I definitely I want to be out there helping folks recognize the wisdom in their bodies and supporting them in finding the pleasure that is there waiting for them.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have those links in the description so our viewers can go ahead and check them out and see everything that you're doing and keep up with what you're doing. Lucie, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure, such a joy to have you here. And thank you so much for the important work that you are doing in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, and thank you for this opportunity to connect.
Certainly. Those watching, please follow Team Racine Productions at Team Racine on all forms of social media. Like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.